I'm the kind of guy who I really nerd out over systems, right? And how, like, whether it's a board game or these role-playing games or video games, kind of how the designers of the systems balance everything.
Would you say a rules lawyer, maybe?
Well, maybe in D&D speak, maybe.
Yes.
What's up?
What
What's up?
Cold start.
Slow start.
Yeah.
Welcome to Comically Gaming, episode 117, covering the month of September 2018.
Ooh, September.
September. I know, right? Dirk just turned 40.
31.
Ancient.
Corey turned 31. 42.
What was that?
And me and Nate are 42. I'll just throw Nate under the bus there, which is a great number. So, yeah, I think the biggest things this month was I got the platinum on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Well, you got Spider-Man just first.
I got Spider-Man. That's all I need. But, yeah.
Your first ever platinum,
first platinum
right?
I ever got, yeah.
Nice.
I never wanted to complete a game as much as I wanted to complete that game. So tonight during the stream I was playing it and I was like, I'm actually kind of bored because there's nothing to do. And I was just going around whooping ass. Fighting crime.
After you get the plat, you're
Yeah.
basically
So
done.
DLC will come out here in another month, so
All right.
don't worry about that. And
What's your score?
for what?
Spider-Man.
Oh, I give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah?
There for a while I was like 9.5 because there's a few little things that I was like, well, the camera sometimes gets weird, but after the end of the story and that whole end of the story and credits, yeah, it's 10.
Nice.
Well, very.
We're going to have a whole segment about it, so
We do.
we'll go a little bit deeper.
And my other thing is I really got into painting Star Wars miniatures. I picked up Imperial Assault, watching some videos. I got to give a shout out to Sarasto painting channel.
For sure.
That's who I've been following, and it actually is a lot of fun. So
I've been watching him for 2 years since I got that game as well.
And
yeah, he's really great.
Yeah, and he does make it pretty easy. And if you follow the colors and just watch him, you'll get a really decent product. It's not as good as him. I mean, when I'm painting, it's like I have tremors and it's bad.
Sure.
But I'm getting better, and you really don't need any painting skills to do it. So it's a lot of fun. It's a big time machine.
Hold it up for the camera.
Oh, I've been holding it up all night. So I'm working on the
URC.
ATST, and it's
Very
hard with
nice.
the lighting, but
Yeah.
it's a little battle hardened.
You got a Stormtrooper to show?
I'm gonna put some rust on it. Yeah, someone talk while I grab it out, but
Somebody talk. Huh?
somebody talk.
Yeah, I will say, have you had a chance to play that game either? Like, that's my favorite
I played it with
board
you.
game, period. Oh, yeah, at my house. Yeah. It's,
But I got
I
some
just
beats.
love it.
What game is it?
It's right there.
Imperial Assault.
Ah,
Yeah.
And
It's my favorite Fantasy Flight game. It's my favorite miniature game. It's D&D light. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of little story missions that you act out with Star Wars characters. It comes with expansions. I got one that's like the Bounty Hunter expansion.
There's a Stormtrooper.
Sweet.
I don't know how well he shows up, but
Yeah, looks good.
Stormtrooper.
Pew, pew.
Pew pew. And then the probe droid.
cool.
Yeah, those are hot, dude.
And I bought the organizer.
Yeah, must have.
So that is it. That's my month.
Nice. Well, my month, first of all, it's Rocktober.
Yeah.
Going forward, Rockies are in the playoffs as of yesterday. Super exciting. Come down to the last game of the season. The Rockies, as long as they've been a team for 25 years, have never won their division. I'm a Tigers fan at heart, but the Rockies are my National League team since I live in Colorado. And, yeah, everything's coming. They're going to actually play an extra game to decide who wins the thing tomorrow. because the two teams are tied for the top. It's super exciting, super awesome. No matter what, they're in the playoffs. I love baseball. I've watched a lot of movies this month. The one that I wanted to talk about the most is a French language movie called Raw. It's on Netflix. I think it might be a Netflix-made movie. It's kind of, you would call it a horror movie. Really, for somebody like me who gets sick to their stomach about like medical things, like if you want to do a surgery on me, you're going to have to black me out before you do it, or I won't be able to handle that. I had to look away from the screen like 17 times during this movie. But if you want to talk about film as art, I haven't seen anything as good as this movie in a long time. The imagery, the things that are going on, mind-blowing stuff. I'd recommend it to anybody who's into artsy films and horror. You got to be into horror for sure. The one thing I wanted to talk about, we've been talking a lot this year about Preacher, about Legion being our favorite shows, about how Game of Thrones is on the air this year. So which one of those shows is better? They're both so great. Better Call Saul's the best thing on television right now, period. It just is. It's so good.
I love it, and I heard that my friend mentioned it, and he's actually a lawyer, and he's like, the show was really good for a long time, but he said this last season has just exploded, and ramped up.
I agree. It's so great. The way that I forget Gillian and then I forget who the second guy is who made Breaking Bad in this show, but the way that they make characters is second to none. These characters are some of the greatest characters ever put on film. I mean, they're so great. I just love it so much. So just wanted to throw that out there.
It's really
and then
good.
The last thing I wanted to talk about, an old ass video game, but we just got Xbox Ones recently after having PS5s this whole generation.
PS4.
Played PS4, correct. Have been playing some Halo 5, and a real weird experience happened. So we played for a week, didn't like it that much. It's basically every Destiny game has come out since I played Halo, and going back to Halo doesn't feel great. Like, it doesn't feel like a modern shooter, right? It takes a while to kind of get used to the controls, and the visuals are not great in that game either. Feel really kind of cartoony and whatnot.
It didn't even really, as far as it didn't feel like I was playing Halo. Like, jumping into Destiny is like you still feel like you're playing Halo, but not one.
But then something happened as we started going through the story. It became super fucking awesome and reminded me why I love Halo. In Destiny, you're just playing through. You walk through settings, and then you get to a boss at the end who is a bullet sponge, and then that's the end of the mission. Halo is a full-on cinematic experience with a story that takes place throughout it, with hardcore action going on the whole time. It got, for the first time in years, where I had like this feeling in my chest that was just, I love video games. This is so fun. I can't believe how fun it is to storm this hill with my friends right now.
And, it was intense.
It was amazing,
way more intense than Destiny ever gets.
Definitely. Absolutely. So that's it. That's my month. Corey, what you got?
Yeah. All right. So, like Jeff, I'm playing Spider-Man and loving it. I haven't beat it yet, so but it's so great. Just had to mention that because that's basically the only game I've been playing. Oh, that and Azure Lane, which is
what?
Azure Lane. It's a mobile game. It's about battleships that fight each other. And they are also, well, I think they're called battle or ship girls.
Wow,
but it's been out in Japan for a long time, but it finally got a U.S. release, and it's pretty good.
Ship girls?
Yeah, they're they're anime girl battleships. So.
Kantai? Fleet girls?
Well, it's called Azure Lane is the name of the game.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good.
Oh, look at it. I see it.
Yeah. And then other than that, the big thing for my on my birthday, me and Dirk's, both of our birthdays, I DM'd my first sesh.
All right.
Congratulations.
How'd it go?
Thanks. It went great, like, especially considering how wasted we all were. I don't think we actually started playing until about 3:30. And I had gotten off work at 11, so you can imagine.
Started at 3:30.
No, well, started me actually DMing and playing the game. Most of the sesh was creating characters.
Okay.
And everybody building their character sheets and stuff. And I just kind of like our first sesh with Nate. He threw a test battle at us, so at about 3:30 I threw. It's in Waterdeep. The Tales of the Yawning Portal starts. It's a bar in Waterdeep, so that's where all the adventures from that book start, or at the Yawning Portal. So I just started the campaign with my four players, about to be walking into the bar, and then 4 rats jumped out of the sewer grates. And
Like the frogs.
basically fucking almost killed the party. Like, I was not expecting that, but it was like
A crit bite.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna put out. There was a crit bite. Yeah, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna put out 4 rats just to give them a taste of battle and see the mechanics, and it'll be easy breezy. And no crit bite. I had one player down to 1 HP. The other one was hanging by a thread. Like, it was, I was like, I had to be like, okay, that rat just ripped out your Achilles tendon, or like somehow, like, one of the players is the Dragonborn got down to 1 HP. And I had to be like, the rat somehow found a way through your scales and, like, tore out a huge piece of your flesh. It was like, what could a rat bite really do? But they were wrecking the party. But it was really fun. We made it through. I actually stopped the battle short because it was about 4 a.m. We were all wasted, and I was getting tired. And I was like, okay, you stomp the last 2 rats. They're dead. We're going now. You go into the bar and take a seat at the table, and then that's where we ended the session. But everybody had a really good fun time. I did do the finish 'em thing that Nate was like with the rats, because they just killed the shit out of the rats when they had good hits on them. So I did it a couple times, but it was really fun. Good success. I can't wait for next week.
Very nice.
That was my month.
My month. I watched. But Corey and I share the same birthday. If anybody doesn't know that out there.
Yeah.
So Corey turned 31. I turned 40. I'm still feeling it today with this 40-year-old body that I've got. But this month I watched 2 movies. I watched It, and I watched Bladerunner 2049 finally.
Oh,
you didn't watch it before?
No. Well, we didn't cover it since I watched it. But I didn't watch it when you guys watched it.
Okay.
right.
Yeah, I just watched it this past month.
And what do you think of
What
both
do you think?
I liked both. I liked Blade Runner 2049 a lot. I completely loved it. The soundtrack was unreal. The visuals in that movie are just
Crazy.
Unparalleled. I was really impressed. I feel like it's a movie that I would go back and watch again, which is rare. You know, I like to move on from films and not watch too many again, but that one's just got so much in it, you know. And it's got it captures a certain feel in it, you know, that is really hard, that seems elusive to filmmakers today.
Sure.
I loved it. It was really good.
Can I stop you before you go into it? Have you, first of all, you ever listened to the band Goblin?
Yeah, Suspiria.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I love Dario Argento. I mean,
Totally. So I feel like the music in that movie was very similar to what they do, and really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and Vangelis did the original Blade Runner.
Sure.
And I think they tried to base this off of, because the original score was Johansson, I believe, did the original 2049 score, and he got let go because they felt it strayed too far from the feel of the film.
Right.
And I don't remember who did the one for this one, but they based it a lot off of that Vangelis soundtrack from the first one.
Yeah, and then have you seen Arrival, which is the movie the director did previous?
No, I haven't seen Arrival yet.
Highly recommend. Really
yeah,
good.
I'll totally watch it.
Is that the one about the language?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go on. It.
No, I loved it. And then It, I really, really liked.
Was it scary?
It wasn't scary. No.
That's what I've heard.
It's not scary. I mean, there's some disturbing images in it, but I don't find like jump scares scary.
Right.
You know, that's not stuff that scares me. And there's a lot of that in there. That being said, it does a really good job of capturing the 80s.
Yeah.
Does it?
It's got that sort of similar, and I know that the kid from Wolf, what's his name, Finn Wolfhard's in it from Stranger Things, but outside of even that, it does have that sort of Stranger Things feel where it's like, you know, it's got a heavy sort of Goonies-ish, you know, Stand By Me vibe.
A lot of Goonies, a lot of Stand By, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got that feel to it. I thought, what's his name? I don't remember the actor's name that played Pennywise, but he was really good.
Man, he was great.
Yeah, and I'm kind of definitely interested in seeing the sequel. So that should be good. I feel like it ends on a perfect note for that. So, and then my third thing is I got Eberron finally. I couldn't wait. I got the Wayfinder's Guide, and we'll go ahead and go into, you know, flesh that out.
Talk about it in another segment.
Yeah, separate segment. But just real brief, I'm completely in love with it. I was not interested in it at all, based off of the artwork and what I've heard about it. But when I started reading the first few pages, I got sucked in big time, and I can see why people really love that setting.
Awesome.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
One more thing.
What you got?
I just wanted to mention I got Volo's Guide for Monsters.
It's
today.
awesome.
I want that so bad.
Yeah, it's
Very
so
awesome.
cool from what I've seen so far. And I finished the original Drizzt trilogy this month. So I've read the first six books. I'm on the seventh. So,
Crazy.
I love it, dude. It's so good. It's some of the best fantasy I've ever read. It's so great. And it's D&D too. It's just I'm 6 books in and I'm not sick of it at all.
Shout out to R.A. Salvatore.
Yeah, for sure. So good. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Oh,
That's our month.
that's our month.
Month.
Bro.
Pretty much all D&D show tonight, or this month. But basically, me and Dirk, it was our birthdays, so we got cool stuff. And not only did I get Volos, but I got Waterdeep Dragon Heist,
Very nice.
the new campaign that just came out, and Dirk got
Eberron. I can't
Eberron.
show mine. It's a PDF.
So we basically just wanted to give our initial impressions. Obviously, no spoilers. There's probably not. I guess I wouldn't consider Eberron spoilers, but Dragon Heist, obviously, no spoilers for the Dragon Heist campaign.
Yeah.
Besides the cover, which I feel like you can't call the cover spoilers.
Jarlax
Most
is his name?
Jarlaxle and the big guy in the back, everybody knows. No, behind Jarlaxle.
That's a beholder.
Yeah, it's a beholder. Probably the most famous
Xanathar.
one. It's Xanathar, yeah. And so it's really cool. I've been reading a lot about Waterdeep and the city in general, not just the campaign, but like researching online. And, yeah, and so it's basically, this is a urban adventure. The whole thing is based in Waterdeep, and one of the things that probably makes it unique is that there's 5 different villains, and they're on the cover. So, and depending, oh no, 4. There's 4.
Yeah.
There's a 5th you can get on the
that
website.
you can buy. Yeah.
But, and so as the DM, you get to pick the villain. And it leads to a different storyline depending on which villain you choose, and it also determines the season of the year that it takes place. So
Nice.
that just alone seems really cool.
Yeah.
And it's all like criminal underground stuff in Waterdeep, which is so different from anything we've played. So it seems really cool. It came with this. I don't know if anybody knows much about Waterdeep, but
Massive.
it's so huge. This is the map it came with. I don't know,
Awesome.
Crazy.
yeah, and you should see how detailed. I mean, it goes down to. I don't know if you could see it or not, but every street is labeled. It has like it's so cool, and yeah, so like just Waterdeep alone is such a massive city. The first city that I ever knew about was Neverwinter, which is not as, I don't think is as big as Waterdeep.
No, it's
But Waterdeep is massive, and it's split into different districts, and it has this giant mountain that protects it from the coast. So it's on the coast, but it also has a huge mountain right in the middle of it, in between Waterdeep and the coast, that everybody's familiar with, and it's really cool, and it's so massive. I mean, it's like New York City, or like
Yeah.
like that's what
It's the center of commerce, right? In Faerun? Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you go south down to like, I think that's called Calamaport, is bigger, but Waterdeep's the biggest city in the north. So I have to do a lot of research about just the city in general, because the whole campaign's based in it. So just really cool and all that stuff. It's cool. An underground crime story based in a city is cool, and it's just really, really awesome. I'm excited to play it. And the Yawning Portal is a bar in Waterdeep, and that was the first book I got, and that's Tales from the Yawning Portal, which is 7 adventures that take you from that bar out of Waterdeep. So my plan is I'm going to start with the first adventure in the Yawning Portal, bring them back, to Waterdeep after they complete it, and then start Dragon Heist. So they fit together like perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can I just ask
really cool.
one quick question? Like, me being complete D&D noob, and trying to learn as much as I can about Faerun, like apparently under that mountain there's like the biggest dungeon in all of D&D, right?
Under Mountain.
Which is the next Waterdeep book.
Okay, it is. So
That's
that
the
book,
second part.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
that's
your
the
book
top.
is purely in the city,
Right.
and the next book will be in that dungeon.
In that dungeon, and that comes out in November.
Gotcha.
So at that, I plan on doing that after Dragon Heist. So
Sure.
yeah, should be
Cool.
sweet. So yeah,
City of
that-
Splendors.
yep, City of
That's awesome.
Splendors. So
I would love to play it at some time.
for sure, I'll
With all that time I have.
right.
Add it in.
Yeah, let's hear about that.
Yeah, so I got Eberron. I'm completely in love with it. It's very, very, very different than definitely anything in 5e, but different than a lot of the other stuff, even in previous editions. It's set on the continent of Corvair. The PDF that they released for it is Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron, sort of a living document. So it's treated sort of as unearthed arcana, which means that you can use this to play now, but it's not set in stone, and they're basing the actual canon content that's going to be coming later on it is going to be based on the responses from that document.
Okay.
So is it on the same planet or the same like?
No,
It's
Yeah.
not.
it's actually it's in the same.
Universe, right? I mean,
It's got to be the same universe because there's talk about Spelljammer, I think.
Mm.
Could you use planar travel to get to it from Faerun?
I think you can. If there isn't something there, then please, somebody watching this, correct me if I'm wrong. But I think you can get there from Faerun, but it is a completely different plane, from what I gather. I know that it's a planet with a yellow ring around it, and it's got like 12 moons or something. But the theme of it is and this is, I'm quoting here, embraces swashbuckling action and pulp adventure and adds a layer of neo-noir intrigue. So
So
Go ahead.
One of my players in my current campaign is a swashbuckler. One of the cat people.
You have a tabaxi?
Yeah, tabaxi.
Nice.
So he's gonna have to. I thought it was on the same planet. That's why I was asking. He's gonna have to explain how he got to our planet.
Yeah.
Because he's a pirate. He's a swashbuckler, and I just assumed it was on a different continent, and he was a pirate.
I think it's definitely a different planet for sure.
Okay.
It might be a different plane altogether.
Right.
But it's sort of I say steampunk, but I use that very loosely as a touchstone for what it is, because it's not. It's different than just straight steampunk. There's a lot of low-level magic is very common in the world. It's widespread. You have everything from lamps that are just continual light spells on them that work in the city. There are there's no fire or flame or anything. They just use spells. They have trains that go to the different cities on the continent that are powered by captured lightning elementals.
Wow.
Damn.
It's a lot of small stuff that's very common, but high level magic is very rare. There's a ton of exotic locations all over the place. The heroes that you play in the world are considered very remarkable. So you're not just playing like an average fighter. Like, people treat you as like a badass, no matter who you are. If you play in Eberron, you're known to
Adventurers aren't
Right.
very common.
like you are known to other people as being special in the world. You know, it's not. The other major thing is that morality is very gray in Eberron. It's not always easy to separate the heroes from the villains. Morality is sort of constantly challenged. So there's a lot of you don't meet a lot of lawful good or chaotic evil. It's a lot of people doing stuff all over the place. You know, most races are actually not inherently evil. So if you wanted to play, say, a goblin or a hobgoblin or an orc or whatever, you could probably do it. They don't. There's no bar on what you could play. Basically,
They're not very racist in Eberron, basically.
no. There's a ton of races just all over the place, and they don't treat monsters any differently than they do, dwarves or elves. The coolest thing, and one of the things that snared me, was that there are regrets and debts charts that you roll for. So your player would have some kind of regret in his or her life that they are seeking to address at some point.
Sure.
The other thing is you would have a debt. I mean, it's optional, but there's a chart where you would have a debt that you owe somebody, or you are trying to pay off something in your life. The other thing is military backgrounds are very prevalent because they just finished a centuries-long war, like 2 years before any gameplay starts in the setting. So most everybody was involved in this war. There was an event called the Morning that actually ended the war. It's an event that covered the country of Seer in thick mist, and everything and everyone in it was horribly transformed, and like over 1 million of the citizens in the country died, and nobody knows how it happened. And it creates these refugees that are sort of hitting other countries in the area. So there's a lot of stuff you can play around with there. And last, the races are just wildly different. Halflings are super shady. They're known to ride dinosaurs. They're into commerce. Gnomes are sort of like political spies and assassins. And then there's like new races like Warforged, which is sort of I guess
they're man-made, aren't they?
Yeah, it's sort of like I don't want to say a robot, but almost like a golem.
Okay.
But with
sentient.
Yeah, sentient. And there's changelings, which is like a shape changer. And they're all playable. So it's wildly different. And it's the only drawback is that there are no adventures. They give you some seeds at the end, which I haven't gotten to get you started on a sort of homebrew campaign. But there are no adventures on it yet. I think there's one in 3.5, and that's it.
Yeah. I also have a changeling in my party.
What?
Yeah.
What are they using?
They want to do weird stuff. Like they're just using like D&D Beyond, and they're just picking races from that.
I mean, they're cool. The races there are cool.
Yeah, I mean, it gives me the information I need, so I'm like, okay, yeah, you can do that, I guess. Like, I'm not going to tell you if that's what you want to do. Like,
yeah.
It's like I wouldn't let them use like a half-completed, race or class or something, but it gives me all the info. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if it's there, absolutely. They even Drow are weird. They're based in the jungle, and they're all tribal and covered with tattoos and stuff.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, we gotta do it. I just gotta figure it out.
When? When do we have time?
Exactly, when.
5 years. 2025.
Cool.
All right.
7.
All right.
Thanks for the education, guys. I knew nothing about either of those books, so
Yep.
yeah, it sounds awesome. Definitely.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we wanted to talk about this month is probably one of the best PS4 games of this generation, Spider-Man, right? If you watch YouTube around the internet, you've been bombarded with Spider-Man. I think, hell, we've probably had 3 streams, I think, on it ourselves, right?
Yeah.
The most, I think, huh?
Yeah.
For one game.
Yep.
Well, 2 official.
We're going to not talk about any story spoilers at all. This is going to be a completely non-spoiler conversation, even though Jeff has platinumed it and Corey's a good chunk of the way through it. Me and Dirk have basically not touched it, just the very beginning, right? Have you played it at all, Dirk?
I did play tonight.
Like an hour, or what do you...
Yeah. I'm probably about 3 hours in.
Okay. So you're probably farther than me then even. So we'll just say, again, no spoilers, but want to just talk about, what outside of the story, because clearly we'll have that conversation later. But what really makes this game kick for so many people, I think, is just how fun it is to be Spider-Man, how awesome it feels to go around Manhattan and whatnot,
Well,
right?
I think they captured the essence of what it's like to play Spider-Man in a video game. I mean, of all the Spider-Man games I've played that have come out, this one is the most fluid and immersive of all of them.
Nate, did you play Spider-Man 2, Nate?
That was terrible.
No, everyone says the
Spider-Man 2 was great.
Was the
PS1?
best. Yeah, that was the best.
PS1? Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what everyone who's played Spider-Man 2 who hasn't played the new one says, is it as good as Spider-Man 2 as far as swinging around the city?
Right.
And
because the very first Spider-Man game on PS1 had it so that he just shot webs straight up into the air, into outer space. Like you could just go through without buildings and he would fly around the city. In Spider-Man 2, they put the little icons on the corners of the buildings and whatnot. So for the first time ever, you could swing back and forth and around corners and things like that. And yeah, I think no comparison. This game's so much better. I think if you went back and played Spider-Man 2, you would laugh at it compared to this game. This is so much more smooth and nice.
Yep.
The other thing that Spider-Man 2 failed at was a lot of inside missions where the camera broke and going down hallways and stuff. The mechanics didn't feel great. Like in this game, I feel like whether you're inside or outside, controlling Spider-Man feels awesome.
It feels great. Oh yeah. Even if you can't swing, you're still very mobile inside and can do cool shit. And it's so fun. And doing tricks. And
the tricks are fun.
And I was going to ask you guys, like, does it hold up over time? Like I feel like from the beginning, like, to be honest, my wife was even making fun of it. When my kid takes the controls, when my 10-year-old plays the game and he's flying around Manhattan, it kind of looks bad, to be honest. Like, he's doing crazy pirouettes in the middle of air, and it's very, he can break the physics of it. Whereas, like, I'm trying to make it as smooth as possible, right? So it's like you have to kind of work at that a little bit.
You do both. I like, if you want to, the way you can, like, boost towards something and then boost off of it and just, like, fly, you can make yourself go super fast or you can just enjoy the swing, and I find that I do both depending on, like, the mood I'm in. Half the time I'll just get lost in swinging around buildings, like having a good time. But if you want to destroy the physics and just blast forward, you can. You just mix them up.
You sort of, like, when Corey, if you're wanting to transverse all the entire island of Manhattan, you just get into this rhythm of swinging, and you'll swing out and let go and let him
glide down.
He'll fly, and then he
swing.
swings again, and it just is so much fun. And
it's very nice. It reminds me of, it feels like an Infamous game on steroids to me.
Which is what it should. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right, absolutely.
Yeah. It's almost exactly what that is.
Yeah.
And they did a great way of, like, showing you the speed. Because if you get up on the Empire State Building and you just dive off of it and dive straight down, I get nervous, and I'm like, I've got to pull up because I'm just going to hit the ground.
Right.
I take it to the fucking last inch every time. All right, and I'll just say the combat is great in it too. Like, at first glance, when you looked at it, it looked like it was going to be Arkham Knight, as far as combat goes. But I feel like in Arkham Knight, you can just drop down in a group of enemies and just punch them until they're all dead.
Agreed.
You can't do that in this. You have to slide under them and use your gadgets and know every different types of enemies' weaknesses and combos, and it's actually pretty intricate and really fun. They nailed the combat for sure. So.
Yeah, and I like the Spidey sense. I really like how they kept
slows down
Spidey
time. And...
I didn't say that, but the way they. I'm trying to keep spoilers out of it, but
that's not bad. That's the instant you get in combat that happens.
But just from Batman Arkham Knight, a lot of times it was hard to judge when the enemies were going to swing so you could dodge it. With the spider sense, it makes it really easy, and you just get used to it. And then if you play this and then you try to play something else like Monster Hunter World, you really suck at those other games. Because they only have 2 buttons. Spider-Man really only has, like, 2 buttons for attacks. Square and triangle, and dodge and circle. So
I really like the mechanics in battle. There was a certain boss early on that forced me to master it, and it was not easy. But then, once you learn it, you love it. Yeah. You're like, you really have to apply it to other fights.
Well, and I think that's how they mask the tutorial. They mask the tutorial really. I mean, you get the little pop-ups that tell you.
It's like a 3-hour tutorial.
It is, but
it's great. But you're right.
It's great, and that first boss you fight, he hits like a fucking freight train, and it teaches you to dodge and how to. That's another thing is just how easy it is to use your webs to pick up objects in destructible environment and throw it back.
I love that.
Totally. All right. So just kind of a couple other things. Clearly, this game, if you're watching the show, I feel like you already know that, but maybe not, that, Sony owns Spider-Man, which is why this is a PlayStation exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty crazy that, they went all in and basically made the best superhero period game ever. I mean, I feel like we would pretty much all agree this is better than the Arkham games.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it kind of I don't know, like one side of me is like super excited about this game, and clearly there's going to be a sequel because this is super successful. And but what I'd really love to see is like the Marvel MCU video
Iron
game
Man.
version. And that's not going to come out of this, right?
No.
Like it kind of breaks my heart. I'd love to see like the Iron Man game be next, and then the Thor game be next, right? And then have them all come together at the end. Like it's a shame.
I feel like they could do that with their partnership. The way Disney and Sony is teamed up, I feel like that's not completely out of the question.
I think you're totally wrong. I think with this being a Sony exclusive, that anything else that Disney is going to put their money towards is going to be multi-platform.
Yeah, but didn't Marvel just issue a quote saying that this is the beginning of Marvel games? They listed this as like, even though it's Sony, it's like square one, where the foundation of what they would like to build.
I consider this like the first Marvel game that's came out since Disney let them do their thing, and it's a whole new. That was supposed to be the whole thing. It's
not. The next
I thought
game
it was.
No, the next game is Crystal Dynamics, which is the Avengers. And it's going to have zero reference to this game.
Right? Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I wish that
You're right. Yeah.
I wish that they would sit down together in a room and work it out like they have with the movies, right? Like
they got some big shoes to fill to follow up this game.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if anybody can do it, Crystal Dynamics can. The team that made those first two Tomb Raider games, or the last two Tomb Raider games, I think they can do it. I'm super excited for that as well. Okay, so finally, like, Jeff, you beat it. Corey, you played a lot of it. Where do you guys think, where does this sit with PS4 games? Is this your favorite PS4 game ever? Is this...
It's one of my favorite.
God of War?
Jeff cried.
It is I did cry. Dude, I cried like a little girl. I ain't gonna lie. Because...
All right.
It was, So, I mean... At the beginning, God of War, I'm going to have to think about this coming up December, but God of War had me going for Game of the Year. But because Spider-Man made me want to actually complete 100% of 100% of this game, it's going to be a toss-up. But I was amazed at how well. And it's sold. I mean, God of War is great, but Spider-Man sold more than God of War. I mean, they already, within the first week, it was 3.3 million copies were sold.
Oh, I know 3 people that bought PS4s to play it.
Yeah, that's true. There were a lot of people that bought PS4s just to get it.
Yeah.
That Spider-Man PS4 is hot. Huh?
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Sure. I would say God of War, at this point in Spider-Man, I still would consider God of War and possibly Celeste better.
I don't see how Spider-Man can beat God of War, in my eyes, to be honest.
I don't either. I'm deep in God of War right now.
I'm going to give it a chance.
I haven't beat it yet. I haven't beat it yet. So I'll hold my judgment. But at this point, I do love being Spider-Man, without a doubt, 100%. It's a great experience, but it's as far as the story and the gameplay. I mean, the fighting in God of War was better than the fighting in Spider-Man by 10 times.
It was more brutal, yeah.
But
and the visuals.
And the visuals, the graphics, and just the environments and everything. It's so far God of War is over Spider-Man for me, but I like I said,
the story could change that for you.
I was thinking I was the same way before I beat it too.
Welcome everybody. It's the GC and TTRPG.
TTRPG.
Everyone, we
love
pick
that
a D&D project, we break it down for y'all. Usually, so far, our topics have really been coming from like a 101 point of view. Last month, Jeff did a really great job with spellcasting basics. He took us through a variety of topics, including the essence, sources of spell, components, spell slots, levels, prepared spells, casting time, and area of effect. He really knocked out a lot of stuff in that show. It was my turn to pick the topic this month. I really kind of was thinking about what I wanted to cover, and I thought about what do we get wrong a lot in the games that we've been playing. Anybody who kind of watches our stuff, I'm new to D&D, right? I've played a total of 2 games and haven't finished either of them, right? I DM one, play the other. So brand new at this, and just trying to wrap my mind around it. We, in both of our games, kind of the way that we've been using spellcasting has been wrong in a couple different ways. And so I'm the kind of guy who I really nerd out over systems, right? And how, like, whether it's a board game or these role-playing games or video games, kind of how the designers of the systems balance everything.
Would you say a rules lawyer, maybe?
Well, maybe in D&D speak, maybe.
Yeah, so.
But I'm coming from a place with that to me, like, I guess, not knowing anything about it, I feel like there's we've never taken characters to level 20, right? And so I feel like the designers of the game must have, like,
20 max?
Yeah. So the designers must have had a plan, and there might be things that happen at level 18 to a certain type of class that if I make, like, homebrew changes to the system at level 6, that maybe I'm affecting things, right? So I really want to learn the system. If you're into D&D, the rules is written, right? It's what everybody talks about. Rules is written.
Raw.
And in most cases with a negative connotation, because everything that you read in the Player's Handbook and the Dungeons Master's Guide and every adventure will tell you that above everything else, it's a game. It's supposed to be fun, and so the Dungeon Master's
discretion.
Discretion overrules everything. But again, the place that I'm coming from is that I want to learn the rules as written first, for real, before I make any changes to them. You know, and like go ahead.
This guy came into my work last night wearing a D&D shirt, and I was like, "Oh, you play D&D, man? You play 5e?" And he's like, "Nah, I played some 3.5 and some 4." And he's like, "I'm just over it, man. I don't like the systems." And I was like, "Oh, really?" I just started DMing, and he's like, "Oh, you'll hate it soon." And I was like, "It doesn't." I was like, "It doesn't seem like my DMs hate it." So I feel like 5e maybe made it easier on the DMs, or like,
yes.
I don't know. Like,
that's a yes.
I'm not sure because I never played any of the previous editions, but I haven't had any bad experience like that yet.
Jeff can testify to how complicated 2e was.
That was crazy.
Sure.
Back up.
So. But anyways, backing up, turns out that spellcasting in 5e is super complicated, because when I tried to do a little bit of research for the segment, we got in a 5-hour argument on Discord about it, and it wasn't just us talking it through. I posted my same question to like 3 different D&D groups on Facebook, and every one of them had this huge, like, I had 100+ comments on one of them of people arguing back and forth, right? So
fucking cantrips.
So I really did a lot of research because I wanted to get to what the hell are the rules. And so my disclaimer is that for this, I'm talking about rules as written, right? And a lot of people who, even when we got to the bottom of it, said, yes, you are correct. Those are the rules as written. However, I don't play that way. And then I asked them why, and they're like, because it's overly complicated and kind of dumb, and the thing that it's trying to protect isn't that big of a problem. And right. So anyways, what we're breaking down here, it's a long way for me to kind of disclaim around
as
it.
As D&D is half the time.
Right. Is that I want to talk about actions versus bonus actions, and spells versus cantrips. And I'm also just talking about the basics of both of those. I know that there's some kind of side things with action surge and whatnot. If you're going to multi-class a spellcaster and a fighter, you're giving yourself an extra action, which makes it even more complicated. We're just talking about the base, like level 3 wizard, sorcerer, warlock or whatnot, and how can you use your action versus your bonus action. Now, you might assume that because the word action and bonus action, and the fact that as a character you get an action and a bonus action on your turn, that you could use, and not even to mention a reaction, that you would assume that maybe, hey, if I got a spell here that says it's an action and another spell here that says it's a bonus action, that I could just use those two spells in my turn. Not the case.
No,
not that simple. So if you look in the casting time section in the player's handbook on page 202, under bonus action, probably the most poorly written thing in the whole book, and it's crazy because it's about casting spells, which is a huge part of this game, right? But the quote is, in that spot, that you can't cast another spell during the same turn if you're using a spell. Okay, sorry, let me start over. You must use a bonus action on your turn to cast the spell, provided you haven't already taken a bonus action on this turn. You can't cast another spell during the same turn except for a cantrip with a casting time of 1 action. So the very end of that, you can't cast another spell except for a cantrip with a bonus casting time of 1 action, had us assuming when we were playing our first games that, okay, anytime I cast a spell as a regular action, I can cast a cantrip as well.
It's a bonus action. No.
So when you really dig
Gotta
into
be the
that,
one action.
it's about the bonus action, right? So that's written so poorly, and like I say, misdiagnosed by everyone, that they simplified it in Xanathar's Guide to Everything. If you look in the first, it's on page 5 in there, and this is under the core rules section. This isn't the optional or additional rules that come towards the end of the book. When they talk about the bonus action in Xanathar's, the quote is, if you want to cast a spell that has a casting time of 1 bonus action, remember that you can't cast any other spell before or after it on the same turn except for cantrips with a casting time of 1 action.
1 action.
So, essentially, if you cast anything, any spell that is a bonus action,
the only other spell you can cast is a cantrip.
Correct. In that turn, the only other thing you can cast in that turn is a cantrip. So
it has to be a cantrip with an action, 1 action, not a bonus
with
action.
1 action, right? You couldn't use the bonus action, right?
You can't use the bonus action in a bonus action. It
bonus action cantrip would not work.
Within a bonus action.
Would a bonus action cantrip? No, probably not.
So, here's how I simplified it as much as possible, and here's what I'm going to give to all the players in my game before the next session that we play. A basic, it's a pretty easy thing. You can do 4 things on your turn if you're a spellcaster. You can just cast a spell that's an action, and then do something else, right? Move, whatever you want to do. You can cast a cantrip. That's an action. You can cast a spell that's a bonus action and a cantrip that's an action, or you can cast a cantrip that's a bonus action and a cantrip that's an action. Those are the 4 combinations of things that you can do. And to make it real simple, 2 of those are just a single thing, right? A spell or a cantrip. So that's easy. The 3rd and 4th option, if you cast a spell or a cantrip that's a bonus action, the only other thing that you can do is a cantrip that's an action. That's it.
I don't know how they didn't realize how shittily this was worded.
Shittily?
Right?
Yeah, I just made that up too, but...
Yeah, especially
you know what I'm saying?
For casting spells, right? Like,
yeah, it's a pretty fundamental part of the, like you said.
Yeah,
it's almost like an afterthought because they meticulously went through and are like, this spell is action. This spell can be mass healing word. This can be used as a bonus action. Cantrips, 1 action, 1 action, 1 action, except for some random cantrip, like I think mending is a bonus action, but
Shillelagh.
Shillelagh. I think they actually just basically said players aren't going to care about cantrips, so whatever.
Yeah, but when you're level 1,
everybody
level
uses
2,
cantrips.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, the early levels for sure. I mean, but
yeah,
you'll still use them when you get
that's
higher level,
all I
right?
had.
And then why even make them a different thing? Why make them a bonus action and action?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of what I read online and a lot of how it seems like people play the game is, what somebody pointed out is that they listed every single cantrip that is a bonus action, and they're not. It's like there's, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 if you're just looking at the player's handbook, and none of them are super overpowering spells. So it's like you would think that the reason that this system exists is so that you can't be too overpowered on your turn, right? But at the base level of a character that's at the earlier mid-level characters, they're not really going to be that overpowered because of this. So it's like they're protecting for something that maybe they're future proofing, right? Maybe with all the different expansions that are coming up, that there's going to be other spells that would change this. But
what our group was saying though was that we could cast any cantrip as a bonus action, even one that had a casting time of 1 action.
Initially, we were doing that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that's definitely not the case.
Yep.
But we were doing that for a long time, like a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But it seems like the general, what most people play is that if you have something that's an action, something that's a bonus action, most DMs allow that in a turn. Right. Say, forget all this other noise, right? But yeah, I'm gonna get in my games. I'm gonna get rules lawyery and say, no, these are the only ones you can do. Like I say, until I get to play characters and see them all the way through, I don't want to change the rules, especially for combat. Like I feel like there's a lot of things in D&D that you can be real fluid with around the story and the role playing aspects of the game. But I feel like with combat, it's like playing Risk or something. If I changed the rules to Risk, I so many things balance off of each other, right? And I just feel like I haven't seen enough of. I haven't seen every class. I haven't seen every race in all the way to the end, right? To be able to make a good decision about changing it. So
right, but also, I mean, like my friend Jeremy obviously has played and DM'd several systems, games, editions, everything. So when he's just getting 5e right now, and he really likes it. He didn't think he would because he finds Faerun and Forgotten Realms sort of boring, but he likes the system. But he's already thinking of ways to re-script it and to make it a better game in his eyes.
Sure.
I guess it's different because he's played different levels and games, whatnot. But
he doesn't like the rules. He wants to bend them and make them.
Well,
better.
he likes them he likes the bulk of them, but there's just things here and there. Like when I pointed that out to him, he didn't like it because he was like, "That's just it's confusing and it doesn't have to be."
Yep. Agreed. Yep. Absolutely. So that's it. There's your lesson for this week, for this month, for this week.
I'll be doing feats next time.
Basics. Yep. I appreciate y'all sticking through that, and we'll have to kind of, I think, talk through on both of the games that we play. Like, how are we going to play going forward, right? The next time that we play, because it's a little trickier than first appears for sure.
So this is what doesn't make sense though when I use the Shalea example as a cantrip, because that is a bonus action, but it requires voice, Semitic, which is the hand gestures, and material. And the very nature of a cantrip is something that you just do almost instantaneously, like Thanos snapping your fingers.
Nah, if you're a sorcerer, maybe, but if you're a druid, yeah, you got to prepare some shit.
Yeah, so that doesn't make sense.
I mean, cantrips. The way that they explain it is, it's supposed to be super easy to cast, right? It's like the casting
probably
time is what,
but that's probably easy for a druid. What you just explained.
Yeah, she's just got her herbs in her pouch. She just goes
like that.
I don't know.
Exactly like this.
Go check out the Horror, Philosophy, and Culture podcast, Scary Thoughts. Co-host Mark K. and Chad Lott cover classic and auteur horror films, going deep while keeping the conversation light. To listen, go to iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, or wherever you like to receive your dark sermons from the cursed minds of the dead.
All right, everybody. It is time for the Comic Book Club for September. And this
I love
month-
the comic book club.
Yeah,
It's
Sorry,
great.
I just got to stop and say it. I love all these different books you guys are making me read. It's the highlight of my month for me.
Oh, well, look at you. I love
we
it
had a
too.
month to read it, and I tried to cram it in 30 minutes because I waited till the last minute. But this month
Not
we
easy to
are
cram.
covering the Sandman Universe #1.
Yep.
Neil Gaiman.
I got a different cover.
Do you? Not. Ooh, I like
Yeah,
that
when
cover.
I bought it on Comixology, they gave me all 6 covers.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah, it's cool.
So yeah, we're gonna go in probably a lot of full spoilers.
Full spoilers.
But as I said, Neil Gaiman is reprising the Sandman Universe, and I don't recommend you try and speed read it because you cannot speed read Neil Gaiman. You
True.
cannot do it.
No, doesn't work very
It's
well.
physically impossible.
So let me ask. I don't know if you know, Dirk, or Jeff. What was the? It appears that after this first book, they're breaking up into 4 different books,
Yes.
and that each one of those books is written by a different author.
Mhm.
Did Gaiman write this one,
Yes.
or did they all get together in a room and talk it through? Do we know how
I
that
think
happened?
that it says that he wrote it at the end, but I think it's a case of like he plotted it
Mhm.
Okay.
and they sort of co-wrote
Well,
with a few other people.
the way it's broken up, I mean, when you read it, it's like you've got the intro with the library, and then you go into that dream sequence when the Raven is looking for Dora and talking to her, and then you go to Narlands, and there's like 4 different storylines going on just in this one.
Yeah, and each
Yeah.
one of those ends up being their own book, right? So the one is Lucifer,
Yes.
right? The one is who is the New Orleans lady? I
House
don't-
of Whispers.
House of Whispers, yeah.
House of
It's
Whispers.
Two
Okay.
characters, yeah.
And then Dreaming, is that Dora?
Yes.
And who is she? Do we know?
You know, I
We
don't
don't
remember
know.
her from the series, to be honest.
I don't think any
know.
of these were in the original series. I think they're 4
Well,
new gods. I think.
No, well, Lucifer was, and Books of Magic was in the original series.
True,
I don't
yeah.
remember the other
Yeah.
two.
But so I have a lot of books of magic, but I don't remember the librarian from it. Do you? Am I wrong about that?
Who?
I can't remember his name.
He used to be a crow.
Right. I don't remember him in the old books of magic.
No,
Maybe I'm
he was
wrong.
in the main series.
Right, was he? Okay.
Yeah,
All
he was in the
maybe it's
Sandman
just-
series.
It's been 20 years or something, so maybe
It's
I'm just
Lucian.
fuzzy on it.
Lucian, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he used to be a crow like the other one.
Right.
He's turned into human.
Oh, he was the crow from Sandman,
Yes,
and now he's the librarian.
right. And it's a new crow.
It's all clear now. Thank you.
Yeah. Is it? It's doubly confusing because he kind of looks like Kane a little
Yeah.
bit. So, yeah.
Well, let's just say the art incredible,
Oh,
right?
dude. Yeah.
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 It says in the back that so they did write this, the 4 different authors, but it said story by Neil Gaiman, but then written by the 4. So I'm assuming he just plotted it out and maybe
Sure.
helped them with the general parts for the story.
Well, besides the artwork, I mean, just a different lettering
Yeah.
Yeah.
tells you who each person. It helps break up the story too, because the Raven has its own style of lettering, its own font, and then
Yeah.
I think it's Lucifer near the end. He has. It looks like a sort of a callback to the Sandman 50 Ramadan.
Yeah.
And so it's just every little detail you could think of is
Yep.
that's crazy.
And then the one other thing, and then I'll let you guys kind of opine a little bit about it. But the one image, so the Raven finds him, and then he makes him forget it
Yeah.
on the way out. Right, he sends him away. But that one page where he finds him, so that's gonna, yeah,
Oh yeah.
doesn't look like Daniel, right? Like
No.
it's very different depiction of him, for sure. You know,
Yeah.
I was I didn't even think it was him until until he was having the conversation with the librarian later, who the librarian kind of broke it down for him, right?
They don't explain also that it's Daniel, right? So if you didn't read the original series, you would just think that's, the only incarnation of Sandman that we're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah,
But-
I think
Yeah.
this is aimed at people who read it, right?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think so.
I liked seeing all the characters again. I'm a little hesitant. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would say if Neil Gaiman hadn't come back to do it, it's almost nostalgia driven. But I did like seeing the characters again because I haven't seen them in print in a very, very, very long time. But I don't know. I'm gonna see how it pans out. I got the other 2 books that are out, and they're pretty good.
Okay.
it's funny, Derek, I was kind of the opposite. I looked at this book and said, oh no, we got another book with a combination of authors, and we cover a lot of these where they kind of break it up, and I just want that single story, single author, single artist vision, right? And
Yeah.
then once I got into this and saw all these characters and the things that they were up to and how things had changed, I was just like, oh, okay, I'm in. I
You
really,
gonna get them?
yeah, I particularly liked the crows talking with Lucifer and whatever he's got going
Lucifer.
on with them and what he did with the murder to kind of get escape or fight his dad or whatever he has. Like, I just felt it was cryptic in just the right way for me.
That's
what
my
I mean?
favorite
It
of the 4.
Yeah, piqued
Yeah.
me for sure. Piqued my interest, definitely.
Yeah. Now, I will say the thing that I really did like is that you can tell that Neil Gaiman set this mystery up because that's him just all the way.
All the way.
The idea of Sandman deserting his position, and it's just nice to see him end it like a classic Gaiman story
Mm-hmm.
with that at the end. It was awesome.
How about the one that we didn't discuss? That the substitute teacher. Who's she?
Well, that's part of the Books of Magic. Yeah, that's interesting.
Is it?
Yeah, that is part of the Books of Magic.
Oh.
Because
Yes, with the kid with the glasses.
the kid with
Yeah.
the glasses and
Yeah, that's Books of Magic.
Okay.
the crow's like trying to warn him, but the crow tells you that she's evil. I don't even think you needed to do that because you could just tell the way she's looking at.
Right.
Yeah, and something, right, like she has a conversation with the kid that somehow depicts that she knows that he's got some kind of magical ability, right? And then he can see the murdered teacher on the table at the end, and the crow can see it, and the 3 of them can see it, right?
Mhm.
And I just thought that was
I don't
pretty
know
cool.
if the kid can see the murdered person because I thought the crow says that he can't see it.
I don't know, but I got the
It says-
dreaming number. Oh,
It
go ahead.
specifically says the kid can. Oh no, can't see it. You're right. I'm wrong. My bad. Sorry.
I didn't speed read that part.
Yep.
So I got Dreaming number 1 and House of Whispers number 1, which are both out, and they're both really good. I like both of them.
Awesome.
In fact, the Dreaming is really awesome because it takes place in that world. And it goes. So the Dreaming follows more the mystery of Sandman deserting the position.
Okay.
Sure.
It follows that tale more, whereas House of Whispers has to do around that family in New Orleans.
Well, I think it's a great way to kick it off to get new and old people back into it because it sets up 4 different stories, and you could almost pick and choose what do you want, what's more your taste, what's more your interests,
Yeah.
and I think that's part of the reason. Probably explain why he quit, why we feel like he quit at the end.
Yeah, and it's if you haven't read the original series, man, just gotta do it. It's like
Yeah.
landmark
that.
literature right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And if you get a chance, that Ramadan edition, Sandman 50, is awesome.
It's fantastic.
That is-
Yeah. I feel like also like Neil Gaiman is one of the few people that I mean, correct me if you think I'm wrong, Dirk, but in the 90s when Sandman was as revolutionary as it was, there's a few other things going on, right? There was Preacher, there was there was Watchmen, there was all these other things, and I feel like Neil Gaiman is the only author from back then who has come out unscathed. He's done a bunch of awesome projects since and hasn't gone the, I don't know, Alan Moore is my second favorite, and that man's insane, right? Like,
right.
he doesn't say good things to the camera nowadays.
Also, right? Gaiman pretty much focuses on books now. He doesn't do many comics.
Mm-hmm.
He does little small projects here and there.
Gods.
Yeah, but I mean, he's almost exclusively a novelist now, and show writer, I think, in some cases. But it started in '89. I didn't realize that it was that old. It got, it was big in the '90s as it went on, but it actually started in '89, which is crazy. I think he was there. The only thing that was comparable was Swamp Thing, and I guess Doom Patrol, but that was a little bit later. But yeah, no, I agree. Like, I mean, some of the guys are still around, like Grant Morrison, but they're all doing very different stuff. Nobody's doing the same kind of stuff that they did in the '90s.
Yeah. So it's cool. Hopefully he's successful at this. You know what I mean? Hopefully we'll be in 3 years when this all gets kind of wrapped up, we'll be able to look back at it and say, wow, it's so awesome that he came back, right?
But he's not going to write anything else. That's it. This is all. I mean, he might help with plotting, but he's not writing any other issues. And I really wanted him, and it's probably crazy to imagine that he would come back to a monthly or a series. I just don't. I think he's in a position now where he doesn't have to do that.
Yeah, but if what you say is plotting, I mean, I think of it as like almost being like a producer of the whole thing.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, that's what he's doing.
Yeah. So if he does that well, then awesome. You know what I mean? I hope that this is as cool as the old stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the writing in those other two issues, the Dreaming and they're actually both really good. I think Simon Spurrier's one. I don't remember who else, but there's something, there's a difference between Gaiman plotting something and him writing it. Because his fucking writing is incredible, so.
Agreed.
But I'm going to buy it. I'm going to read it all, so they got me.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's been the Comic Book Club. We're going to, next month, go back to The Walking Dead. We've done a lot of Walking Dead in the past because I'm obsessed with it. And I'm staying current, so... Yeah, number 184 for y'all trying to catch up on these comic book clubs. Read that before next month.
Read 184 issues.
My favorite part of the show. We're going to give love back to those who gave it to us. Last month, we didn't have a chance to do this because, guess what? YouTube broke. No. It used to show us who subscribes to us if you share your subscribers, and then it stopped for like a month and a half straight. So me and Corey came up with this whole nother system to where we jotted down all the information about the people who say that they subscribe to us, and then guess what? YouTube fixed it. So we're gonna have to go back or something. Yeah, we'll see. It sucks. But one thing is for sure is that we get out there on the internet. We meet people on Twitter. We meet people through YouTube, and awesome people, right? People that we met years ago that we still talk to every week sometimes in the comment section of each other's videos and on Twitter and all these things. And it's really super awesome. We appreciate everybody's support. Now that we do the show monthly instead of weekly, we have like 1 billion people. So I'm going to put everybody's names up on the screen as I'm talking through this right now. Thank you to everybody. If you're on the screen right now, we really appreciate it. If you are a YouTuber, everybody on this list are people who are currently active people out there supporting us. I'm sure they'd support you. So what you all need to do is go into the comments of this video. There'll be links to everybody's channels there.
Yep, like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal, right? Yeah, get that stuff done, and this group of people will support you back. So thank you so much for everybody for subscribing this month. Really, really appreciate that. What we used to do is read every single one. Don't do that anymore because there's just so many. We like to have a little contest every month where we pick our favorite names. We call it the name of the month, and we base it not on content, but just on names. So what we're doing now is we're each going through and picking 3 that we think are our favorite, and then we're going to choose the winners out of that. So, that being said, this month I got Made You Look, Totally Moo, and This Side of the Nut House.
Yeah, I got a Hot Cheeto Man X,
Hey,
This Side of the Nut House, and Dragon Mountain Gaming.
I also got Hot Cheeto Man X and This Side of the Nut House, but I added Lunartic Wolf.
all right. I got the Nintendork, Otaku Panda, and Gamers Therapy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Some great stuff out there. So, what do you guys think? I mean, we got 3 of us got This Side of the Nut House, but now that I see Hot Cheeto Man X,
Yeah.
I'm kind of torn in that direction as well. I think I'm going to give it up to the Hot Cheeto.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Hot Cheeto.
Otaku Panda.
Otaku.
Of course, that's Corey's pick. But it's only 1 versus 3, so Hot Cheeto Man X, you are
Yeah.
the name of the month.
Hot. Hot.
All right.
Cheeto.
So, thanks everybody for watching. This has been Comically Gaming, episode 117. We love you. If you made it this far in the show, we really appreciate that. Please consider supporting us over at our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/GCandC for as little as $1 a month. Check out our blog while you're over there.
Yeah, for sure. And find us on Twitter at GCandC. And join our Discord and Facebook groups. Just look us up.
Preferably Discord.
Yeah, absolutely. Discord. You can also grab a T-shirt or a sticker at teespring.com. I believe Corey's got a shirt on right now, right? There you go.
Yep.
So does Jeff.
So does Jeff.
Yeah, and that's
Black's cooler, though.
I have a black one too. I'm not to buy new ones though. Thank you, Fred Thomas, for opening music, and Xee Reiter for our everlasting logo.
Thank you.
This is so awesome.
Yeah.
And be sure to check back for next month for our comic book club, which will feature The Walking Dead number 184. Read up on it, Corey, so you can join the conversation. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Like that shade.
Wait,
Later, everybody.
Later.
Thank
thank
you.
you.